It's 97 degrees outside and 55 degrees coming out of this pipe. No compressor, no electricity, no refrigerant. Just a $350 worth of pipe buried in the backyard of a Kentucky farmer who hasn't paid an energy bill in 3 years. I drove 4 hours to see this for myself, because when I first heard about it, I didn't believe it either. By the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly how this works, exactly how to build it yourself, and exactly why a $29 billion industry spent 90 years making sure you never found out it existed. Stay with me, because the thing I'm going to show you at minute 13, the version that costs nothing to run and needs 0 permits, is the part nobody is talking about. Here's the number that makes all of this possible. Dig down 6 feet anywhere in the continental United States, and the ground temperature locks in. It stops responding to the surface. Summer heat, winter freeze, doesn't matter. At 6 feet down, the Earth holds one temperature all year long. The Department of Energy's own research lab, Oak Ridge National Laboratory, mapped this city by city across the country. Chicago, 55 degrees Fahrenheit, all year. Atlanta, 62 degrees Fahrenheit, all year. Denver, 58 degrees Fahrenheit, all year. Phoenix, 67 degrees Fahrenheit, all year. Minneapolis, 52 degrees Fahrenheit, all year. Your air conditioner works by compressing chemical refrigerant, forcing it through coils, and dumping the heat outside. It produces about 3.5 units of cooling for every unit of electricity it burns. Now, a buried pipe that simply moves air through cool soil, measured across 47 installations worldwide, produces a coefficient of performance of 28.7. 28 versus 3. That gap represents $29 billion a year in compressors, refrigerant, service contracts, and electricity bills. And it is the exact reason you have never heard of this before today. But here's what I need you to understand first. Why does the ground even stay that cold? Because once you get this, you'll never see your backyard the same way again. Soil is heavy, between 100 and 125 pounds per cubic foot. Moving that mass even 1 degree takes 20 to 30 BTUs per cubic foot. When summer heat bakes your yard, it starts sinking, but it moves slowly. 6 to 8 weeks to travel just 6 feet. By the time August's heat reaches 6 feet underground, it's already October. The season has changed. The Earth simply cannot absorb heat fast enough to warm up. It stays cool through every season, every year, indefinitely. The ground beneath your property is the largest thermal battery on the planet. It has been sitting there your entire life, doing nothing, because nobody told you it was there. And this isn't new science. The Persians used this exact principle to store ice through 120-degree desert summers 2,400 years ago. The Romans built cooling channels under their villas. The Koreans ran air passages under floors for 3,000 years. Native Americans in the Southwest built semi-subterranean homes for 8 millennia. Every civilization that mastered extreme climate arrived at the same answer, independently. The Earth stores temperature. The pipe is just the path. And now, let me show you the farmer who remembered that. His name isn't important. What matters is his house. 1,500 square feet, built in 1972, standard construction. His heating and cooling bill ran $280 a month in summer, nearly the same in winter. He tried the programmable thermostat, the smart AC, the insulation upgrades. The bill barely moved. Then, 3 years ago, he dug a trench. But here's the detail that makes his version different from everything else you're going to see online. He didn't put the system under his house. He put it under his workshop. His workshop sits 12 feet from his back door. He trenched a 6-foot-deep loop under the workshop floor, ran glycol lines through the wall of his house, connected them to a fan coil unit he bought online for $95. In summer, pulls heat out of the house, dumps it into 55-degree earth. In winter, pulls 55-degree warmth from the earth, pushes it in. One system, 2 functions, 12 months. His heating and cooling bills since installation? 0. Total materials cost? Under $450. The pump draws 40 watts, less than a laptop charger. The fan coil sits in a closet. No ductwork changes, no permits. Because it's legally a plumbing loop, not an HVAC system. And here's the part I keep coming back to. He didn't touch his old furnace or air conditioner. They're still there, still connected. He just never turns them on. If the system ever needed work, he could switch back in 5 minutes. 0 commitment, 0 risk. Just a man who stopped paying $280 a month because he understood what the dirt under his workshop was already doing for free. Now, you're probably asking, can I do this on my property? Yes, and I'm going to show you exactly how. You don't need to tear up your foundation. You don't need to rip out your existing system. You need a yard, even a side yard, even a strip of land the width of a car along a fence line. There are 2 versions of this system. I'm going to give you both. Step 1, dig the trench, 6 feet deep. Run it along whatever land you have, backyard, property line, beside the driveway. 100 to 200 feet of total run. Step 2, choose the right pipe. Smooth wall HDPE or PVC, 6 to 8 inches in diameter. This part matters. Do not use corrugated pipe. Corrugated pipe traps condensation. Condensation becomes mold. You are pulling this air directly into your house. Smooth wall only. Step 3, bed it in sand. Sand maximizes thermal contact with the surrounding soil. This is the step most people skip. Don't skip it. Step 4, connect the ends. One end, above ground screened intake. Other end, into your house through the basement or crawl space with a MERV 13 filter and an inline fan drawing 50 to 80 watts. On a 95-degree day, air enters at 95 degrees Fahrenheit, travels 150 feet through Earth at 55 degrees, exits your house between 65 and 75 degrees. No compressor, no refrigerant, just physics. And the air isn't just cooler, it's drier. The condensation on the pipe walls strips moisture from the air. Humidity drops from 80% to under 50%. Total cost? Roughly $350. Fan uses what one light bulb uses. Pipe lasts 50 to 100 years. Your central AC lasts 15 to 25 before it goes to the landfill. If you're in a high humidity climate, here's the problem with System 1. The condensation inside the tube becomes difficult to manage. You can do it, but it takes more attention. System 2 eliminates that entirely. Instead of running air through the buried pipe, you run a closed loop of water and glycol, car antifreeze. The liquid circulates underground, absorbs the Earth's 55-degree temperature, then passes through a heat exchanger inside your house. Cool, dry air comes out. No air ever touches the buried pipe. No condensation, no mold. And this is the version that's truly bulletproof from a permit standpoint. It uses standard plumbing fittings. It qualifies under existing plumbing code in every state. No HVAC inspector, no special approval. No form that doesn't have a box for it. This is what the farmer in Kentucky built, and this is what I'm going to build on my own property this fall. Now, before we go any further, I need to show you something that's going to make you genuinely angry. Because this system has been around for over a century, and the reason you've never heard of it? is not an accident. In 1903, 120 years ago, the USDA published a manual documenting buried pipe cooling systems in rural American farmsteads. This was established, documented technology. Then, in 1902, a man named Willis Carrier invented mechanical air conditioning in a printing plant in Brooklyn. His original problem wasn't heat, it was humidity damaging paper. The machine was never designed for human comfort. But by the 1920s, Carrier Corporation launched a campaign called Weathermaker, repositioning mechanical cooling as the symbol of American progress. Their marketing materials, I've read them, explicitly labeled passive cooling as primitive and unsanitary. Then, in 1930, a Carrier Engineering Corporation manual published one sentence that erased 5,000 years of proven engineering. One line, one corporate manual, an entire field of knowledge, gone from American construction. In 1927, the first model mechanical codes were drafted, with heavy participation from HVAC industry representatives. Passive alternatives weren't banned. They simply didn't exist in the document. The people writing the rules were the same people selling compressors. After World War II, the construction boom locked in mechanical cooling as the only acceptable approach. Passive cooling vanished from architecture schools. By 1980, fewer than 3% of American architecture programs taught any passive cooling strategy at all. An entire generation of architects, engineers, contractors, and inspectors trained in a world where earth tubes didn't exist. Not because they failed, because they weren't profitable. The Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration Institute spent $47.3 million on political activities in 2022 alone. The residential cooling market? $29 billion a year. The average lifetime value of one HVAC customer? Over $15,000. Every earth loop installed is a compressor that never gets sold, a refrigerant charge that never gets refilled, a service contract that never gets signed. In 2019, ASHRAE Technical Committee 6.8, the committee responsible for evaluating systems like this, rejected a proposal to create a performance pathway for earth tubes. Their stated reason? Insufficient domestic performance data. They said this while holding 3 decades of European documentation, covering 847 monitored installations. When researchers analyzed who sat on that committee, 67% were HVAC manufacturer representatives. In 2021, Florida's Building Officials Association formally opposed an amendment that would have recognized passive cooling in state building code. Their concern? Inspection complexity. Meanwhile, Florida homeowners pay $400 a month to cool their homes for 6 months of the year. You do that math.
This isn't experimental. The Cambridge Public Library in Massachusetts has 42 earth tubes beneath it. Result? 51 to 56% less total energy use than a standard building. The Earth Ranger Center in Toronto, 9 concrete tubes, 65 feet long, buried 10 feet deep. Warms incoming air by 36 degrees in winter, cools it by 18 in summer. The Allgemeines Krankenhaus Hospital in Vienna has been cooling critical care units with earth tubes since 1994. That's 30 years of continuous operation. Maintenance every 5 to 7 years. Cost? A fraction of conventional cooling. Germany has 847 monitored residential installations tracked by the Passive House Institute since 2005. ETH Zurich, one of the world's top engineering schools, published a 15-year longitudinal study. 0 degradation in performance. 0. These aren't experiments. They are proven infrastructure. Your building inspector has never heard of them because his licensing exam never mentioned them.
That farmer in Kentucky doesn't have an engineering degree. He has a backhoe, 2 weekends, and a clear understanding of what the dirt under his workshop was already doing for free. In 1930, one sentence in one corporate manual decided you would never learn this. In 2019, a committee with 67% industry representation made sure it stayed buried. In 2021, Florida officials blocked it from the building code to protect $29 billion a year. But the ground beneath your house doesn't care about committees. It doesn't care about quarterly earnings. It doesn't care about what box is or isn't on the inspection form. It sits at 55 degrees. It has always sat at 55 degrees long after every air conditioner ever built has rusted into nothing. You were never supposed to know this. Now you do.
Thanks for watching until the end. Subscribe for more videos. Bye.